All right, and we're good. So you should see my screen. I'm just going to open up this questions panel, put that over on the side. That's my little kind of privacy screen right there for my messages. And we are going to go ahead and get started. Now, if you've never logged into DYL before, of course, you're going to go to the DYL main website, dyl.com. And once you do that, you'll see the website here, more sales, happy customers, bigger profits. Familiarize yourselves with this page. In the upper right-hand corner is going to be the login button. When you click on the login button, it's going to take you to the DYL login page. You'll see our support number listed here if you need to call us for anything. And then you'll put in your email address and your password, and you'll select the login button. Once you've done that, you will end up here on the leads page. We do go over this page in more detail in our lead management webinar. You can sign up for that. We will be hosting one tomorrow if you missed the one today. But just a brief overview, this is where your leads are going to funnel into if you're working internet leads, and you'll be able to search for your leads by a time frame, type of lead, if they're assigned to you or not, lead source, disposition as well. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll see your name, and then you'll see your lead status. It will either be on or off. If it's off, that means you're not going to be working with the internet leads. If it's on, you will be receiving those calls for the internet leads. All right, so that status only affects your internet leads for the calls. It does not affect other inbound calls. It does not affect your outbound calls. It's only for internet leads. Right next to that is going to be your little search bar. If you need to search for any of your leads, you can type in a name, phone number, email address, and search for your leads that way. So I did just want to give just the quickest overview of what you're seeing here. Like I said, we do go over it in more detail in our lead management webinar. Where we're going to go now is into the settings. Now, when you get to the settings page, you should see something like this, especially if you are an admin. If you are the account admin, these are the settings that you're going to see. If you are a producer, meaning that you do not have admin privileges, this is what you'll see when you go into your settings. You will basically only see your user settings. So like I don't have admin access to the settings, so when I go into settings, I only see my user settings. I could change my login information. I could change my user, or like my name, or edit my name. I could change my inbound line to another extension, my caller ID. I see my ring group status here, and then I'll be able to change some other features as well. So since I do not have permission to access the admin settings, these are the settings that I will see. So the way that you give your users permission to access the admin settings is going to be under the user account settings in the account section of the settings right here. That's where you'll give your users that permission to access these settings. We have a webinar called the Admin Settings webinar that will go over all of this like little L-shaped portion. So we go over account settings, lead dialing settings, email management, text messaging management today. And we also go over this section right here in the admin settings webinar. Today we are just going over the phone system. So this little piece of little section right here, this is what we're going over. And the first section in this setting is the first set of settings in this section, I should say, is going to be phone numbers. All right, so we are in this account now. We have 2 phone numbers listed on this account. Okay. One phone number we have set up as a fax receiver, and one phone number we've set up to receive phone calls. We also have space to add a local number if we're purchasing a phone number. We also have a space to port a phone number over. So if you're a new DYL account, you may see these spaces here, or you may see multiple spaces, multiple port number spaces to DYL if you are porting numbers over. Once we get the numbers, we'll add them to the account. Once we pick out a local number, we'll add it to the account as well. But for right now, we're going to work with the 2 numbers that we do have. So like I said, we have one set up as a fax receiver. So this is our fax number. Faxes in DYL are done through eFax. You do not need a fax machine. All of your faxes will come into DYL. If you are an Allstate agency, your faxes are actually going to come to you via email. A PDF version of the document that was sent over will be attached to that email, and you will be able to access it there. You will not be able to actually access your faxes in DYL, and instead you'll only get a timestamp of the fax being sent over into to your faxing number. For everybody else, any other agencies, if you're with farmers or if you're with an independent company, then you will be able to see your faxes in DYL. There was a compliance agreement that we came to with all state to enable their agents to continue to use our software. But yes, this is our fax number. Everything's done through eFax. To set up a number as a fax number, we're going to go here to update routing. Whenever you want to make any changes to the routing of your phone numbers, you'll go to update routing. You'll click on that, and this drop-down menu is going to appear in the middle right here, and you'll choose from that menu. So whenever you want to add a fax receiver, the fax receiver is going to be at the very bottom of the list. You'll choose that, and then whenever you're ready to make your changes, you'll select update, and now this has been reset, I should say, as the fax receiver. Right below that, you see deliver faxes, and you see a few email addresses listed here. You can set up delivery of faxes or the fax notifications to individual emails by going to fax delivery. When you click on fax delivery, you can add emails to this list. And what would happen is whenever a fax comes in or whenever a fax is sent out, these email addresses will receive an email letting them know that this fax was sent successfully, or they received the fax in DYL. Another place to set up email delivery for fax notifications is going to be over here in the contact information settings. However, in the contact information settings, if you add emails here, this is going to do it for everything. So that means all fax numbers, all company voicemail boxes, everything. Whereas setting it up for each individual number, these emails are only going to get the notifications for this number and this number alone. If you had another fax number set up, you can set that up with different emails so that they can receive those notifications. Let's say that commonly happens when you have multiple offices in one account, and you want to make sure that people in each of those offices receive the email notifications instead of having everybody receive everything and potentially causing some confusion. So that's why we have that set up both ways. You can set up the fax delivery and your contact information if it's just one single office, or you can set up the fax delivery emails right here if you have multiple offices with their own individual fax numbers. Going down to our actual phone number here, we have a 310 number. Right now, we have it routing to a ring group. And you can click on the name of this ring group to go into the settings for that ring group. So anytime when you're working with the phone numbers, you see a hyperlink or it's colored blue, you can click on it. It's going to take you into the settings for that ring group or for that IVR. We're going to go ahead and update the routing. I don't want these calls routing into this particular ring group anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and update the routing. I'm going to go to the drop-down menu, and then I'll look at my choices. I can route my calls into an IVR menu. IVR menu are commonly the messages that you hear playing at the beginning of phone calls. A lot of people use them to notify their callers that the calls are being recorded. There are also the messages that play, if you know your party's extension, press it now. To reach sales, press 1. Customer service, press 2. Billing, press 3. So a lot of the times IVRs are also call trees, call directories as well. So I can route my calls into an IVR. I can route my calls into another ring group. So if I don't want it to go to the office service team, I could choose one of these additional ring groups. We have a service team, sales team, August 16th. We have a Lopez test. I can route it into one of these ring groups. I can also set up this phone number as a direct extension, as a direct line. So let's say you're in an office and everybody has their own phone number. You go ahead, you can port over those phone numbers, or if you want to start from scratch and purchase new phone numbers, you could do that as well. But you'll get those phone numbers over into DYL, and we can set those numbers to individuals' extensions. So for instance, if I wanted this number to be my phone number for my extension, I would just set my extension there and then hit update. And now any calls coming into this number are just going to ring my extension directly. I can also send calls to a mailbox. I can use a phone number to be my answering service, and then I can have a mailbox set up and route my calls directly into that mailbox. I can also route my calls into a forwarding number. We'll set up our forwarding numbers towards the bottom right here, but I can route my calls into a forwarding number. So let's say the internet in your office goes down and you're not sure exactly how long you're going to be down. If you can access DYL from, say, like a cell phone or a mobile Wi-Fi hotspot or anything like that, you can log into DYL and you can forward your calls into a forwarding number, whether it's like your cell phone number or maybe you have some backup office number that you can use. You can route your calls into that number. They will forward out and then ring on that phone that you have set up as the forwarding number. And then a lesser known option You can route your calls into a conference room. So if you do a lot of conference calling, you can route your calls into one of these conference rooms right here. If you go back to the view page, you'll notice that there is a conference bridge right here, 700. So basically, this is letting me, let me go back. Basically, this is letting me route calls into that conference bridge that's on the office view right here. But then you also have additional conference rooms. You have up to 799. We're only giving you the choice of running a number into 5 of those rooms. But again, if you do a lot of conference calling, you can have a number set aside just for your conference calls. And you can direct people to call that number. It will take them into the conference room. And then you or anybody in your office will dial the extension of the room that you're using so that you can join the call. So if you're using room 5, which is 704, all you have to do on your office phone is dial 704, and you will be a part of the conference call. Okay? And then, of course, your fax receiver is an option as well. Okay? So I'm going to route these calls actually into an IVR. I'm going to select Update. And now we see this call is going to the IVR menu directory. I can click on directory, and it will take me into those settings. Okay? You may also be noticing that we have a customize option right here. The customized instructions details are down here. We can customize a caller ID name for inbound calls. So instead of showing the caller's name, whatever we put in the field for caller ID, that's what's going to show up in place of that. So for instance, we have mailers listed right here. I can go to customize, and our caller ID name is mailer. So whenever an inbound call comes in, when I look at the phone, it should say mailers instead of the customer's name. And this is letting me know that we sent out a few mailers, and that person is calling this number from one of those mailers, because this is the number that we put on the mailers that we sent out. We can also set up a phone number as a lead source. So we can either do a new lead source or choose one of our existing lead sources and have that lead source send the calls into that number, especially if they're live transfers. So if you want to set up a phone number for your live transfers to come into, you can set it as a lead source and do something like live transfers HBW or something like that. And you can set it up that way. Once you've made your changes, of course, you'll select Update. And now our caller ID has been saved, and we are ready to go. Okay. Forwarding numbers. So as I mentioned, you can set up a forwarding number. We have a list of forwarding numbers right here. They have labels, and we are showing them all on the office view. If we ever need to edit any of our forwarding options or to delete one altogether, we'll go into Edit Forwarding Options. But we're going to add a forwarding number. So when I click on Add Forwarding Number, you'll type in the number that you're going to forward the calls to. So calls will be forwarded to this number, as I said. You'll put in a phone number. If you want to give it a label, you can. So like Jerry's cell phone, Maria's house phone, Dr. Watson's beeper or something like that, you could put that all right here. If you want to show it in the office view, you can keep this box checked. If you don't want that on the office view, you can uncheck it. And then if you want a message to play before the call forwards, you can choose an IVR message to forward that call, to play before the call is forwarded out. And then if you want a different caller ID to show up, you'll put that in right here. So let's say, for instance, that my 323 number is calling in, but you're forwarding your calls out. If you don't put anything here, my 323 number is going to show up as the caller ID on the forwarding on the phone that I'm forwarding out to, or the number that I'm forwarding out to. But if you put your office number right here, when I call in and you're forwarding your calls out to that number, they're going to see your office number as the caller ID instead of my phone number. So that's what this means right here. Okay? And then finally, you don't have to change these settings, how long the phone is going to ring for and what happens if nobody answers. Being that these calls are being forwarded to outside phone numbers, they'll have their own setup prepared for in the event that they don't pick up the phone or anything like that. Okay. So then once you've added your forwarding number, you'll select Add Forwarding Number, and that number will be listed amongst the rest of the forwarding numbers. You can also set up an area code for 7-digit dialing. So there's a particular area code that you do a lot of dialing into. Maybe you want to set up your phone's area code. You can put that in right here, and when you do any manual dialing on your phone, you do not have to dial that area code as long as it's the same as yours. So like if you put 310 right here, you don't have to dial 310 when you're dialing 310 numbers. If you're utilizing our text service and you have multiple phone numbers and those numbers are provisioned to send and receive text messages within DYL, you can set a number as your default SMS chat number, meaning that this is going to be the number that's going to that everybody's going to use. That's on your account. When you send out a text message, this is what your customers are going to see. Normally, it is one of your phone numbers. If you go to edit default, it's usually one of your phone numbers that is listed. So I can also set my fax number as my default SMS chat number. However, if somebody were to try to call my fax number, they wouldn't reach us. So it's better to use a number that they can reach you at and not, just any number that's in your account. Okay? You'll hit update to save those changes. If you have multiple offices, you can go into the user account settings to set up the default SMS chat number for individual users. Like I said, especially if they're spread out across multiple offices, you can set their chat number as their office number also. Okay. SMS notifications. If you do not acknowledge a text message within 1 minute, you will receive an email. You can turn this on or off by going to Edit Email Notifications. Unchecking the box will turn it off. And selecting this little drop-down arrow will set how much time you want to wait for that message to go out. So instead of the message going out within a minute, you could choose up to 5 minutes, 10 minutes, all the way up to 60 minutes. And then you'll update. Okay. Default fax number, you'll set that right here. And then also your web page launcher. So if you're using eAgent or eCMS, you'll put in the web address for those platforms here, and then we can go in and set up your Internet Explorer settings so that when you answer an inbound call, eAgent or the eCMS or EasyLinks, whichever CRM that you're using, will pop open and it will populate that caller's information if they have information in those platforms. Finally, caller ID selection. So this is again for manual dialing. You can mask your caller ID, and you can set that up here. So if I press *0 and then dial the phone number, this is the caller ID that's going to show up. So if you just want to mask your caller ID when you're doing any manual dialing, you'll set up a combination here, and then you'll be able to do that. You'll go to Add Caller ID Selection, choose the digit, and then put in the caller ID number that you want to show up when you press that digit. All right, so that is it for the phone number settings. The next segment is going to go over extension settings. So in the extension settings, you'll be able to see a list of all of your extensions and who those extensions are assigned to. So right now we have 2 unassigned extensions listed here, but everybody else has an extension assigned to them. You can organize your office by department or office location, and that's going to be listed here in this department column. To change your departments around, you'll go to the bottom of this page, and you'll go to this Manage Department section. If you want to add a department, you'll go to Add Department. And it's just simply giving the department a name, and then you'll select Add Department. By default, your main department is default, so you cannot delete that one. You can edit it. We changed the name of our main department to Customer Service, and then we also added Billing and Sales, and then I can add another one if I wanted to. To set up a user into a different department, or even an office location, never forget that. You can also name this your office location if you have multiple offices across the city, across the state, and you want to organize, you want to have your view page organized by the office location or the department. Because you see here we have it Customer Service, Billing, and Sales, and I can go into each individual one and interact with them. So to change this, you'll go to Update Details, and now you'll see a drop-down menu appear for this individual user, and I can choose to change their department around. And once you've made your changes, you'll select Update. Okay. All right. Each individual extension has their own voicemail box. And then you also have a general mailbox for the entire office, for the entire organization. Your extension voicemails boxes can be accessed by dialing extension 500. If you dial extension 500, it's going to take you straight into your extension's voicemail box, and you do not need to put in the box number or the PIN. Now let's say, for instance, that the person on extension 101 is going to go on an extended vacation, and we want to make sure that his voicemails are getting taken care of. I could change his voicemail from box 101 to one of the company mailboxes so that if anybody calls his line directly and leave a voicemail, they'll go into the company mailbox instead of going to his extension's voicemail box, and then somebody else can take care of it from the company mailbox. To make that change, once again, you'll go to Update Details, and you'll choose the mailbox that you want to forward those calls into, or those voicemails, I should say, from this list. So we'll do like 301, and you'll hit Update, and now their mailbox number is 301. When DYL Tester 7 comes back from their extended leave, we'll go back to Update Details, and we will put him back on their mailbox. Okay. And then right now you see a phone column. Much of it is empty except for these two. And you see these weird looking numbers and letters here. Those are called MAC IDs. So with VoIP phones, they have MAC IDs associated with them. Each phone has their own unique MAC ID. To use the phones with DYL, you will need to take that MAC ID and put it into this phone column, and you'll put it in on a particular extension. So like how the CCEF48, that phone is on extension 225, so that means that whoever is on 225, this is their phone. To update the MAC IDs in the extension settings, once again, you'll go to Update Details, and you will add your MAC ID right here. And then once you've added it, you'll select Update. Now, sometimes you might run into an error like this one. That MAC ID is in use by another user. If you run into that error, you can give us a call, and we might have to just delete it from your account. Sometimes, like even if you remove users and stuff, the information stays. So we'd have to delete it from your account and then re-add it so that you can use it on another extension. But if it's successful, you'll get a green box, and it will say Added MAC ID or Added Phone. Okay. Now, do keep in mind with the MAC IDs, like I said, for this particular phone, this phone is on extension 225 and training account is on 225. If training account went to extension 222, he would not have a phone because he's moving his extension, but he didn't move the phone itself. And then if there was a phone that was already here, let's say, for instance, we put a MAC ID here, when training account goes to 222, he's now going to be on the phone that is listed right here. And we'd have to reboot the phone to reflect those changes. This is all, I mentioned this, and this is all important because when you go into DYL and you use your campaign dialer, especially your campaign dialer, when you're logged into your own account and you activate the campaign dialer and you notice that your phone's not working, it's probably because you are currently sitting at a phone that is not assigned to you. So just always be careful about that. If you're going to be moving people around, make sure that the phone is assigned to them before they start trying to use it in DYL. Because when you do like a campaign dialer or a click to dial or anything like that, you're logged into your account, but you haven't switched over your phone yet. So when you go to do a click to dial or campaign dialer, you're expecting the phone that you're sitting at to ring when the phone that you used to sit at is going to start ringing. So just make sure that you reset the phone if you're just on an extension swap. If you're going to take the phone with you altogether, just make sure that you swap the MAC IDs also so that you don't have to, if you don't want to go through the process of resetting the phones and everything to reflect the change. Company voicemail boxes. So here are our company voicemail boxes. As you see, the default one is the company mailbox 300. You can add any additional mailboxes after that. You'll go to Add Mailbox, give the mailbox a name, and then select Add Mailbox. That mailbox will generate a box number, and it will generate a PIN number. Much like with the fax delivery, you can set up email delivery for your voicemails as well. If you do it in contact information, that's going to be for everything. So everything. Whereas if you do it for each individual mailbox, let's say that you have, again, multiple offices and they all have their own multi-purpose general mailbox, you can set up the email delivery for individuals in those specific offices to receive the emails that voicemails are waiting for them in their voicemail boxes. You also notice this greeting link right here. You can call into DYL and update your voicemail greeting, or you can upload the greeting into DYL if you have a file available. If you have an MP3 or a WAV format, you'll go to Greeting, you'll choose the file, and again, it has to be an MP3 or WAV format, and then you'll select Upload. So then when your callers come in, if they reach your voicemail, they'll hear the greeting that you uploaded. But like I said, you can also call in and change your voicemail greeting as well. When you call in, just make sure that you don't have any voicemails saved on the phone or else you'll have to clear all of them out before you can access the menu. And you can just simply clear them out by pressing 7 to delete, or you can press 9 to save. All right. So next section we're going to go over are the IVR prompts. So like I said at the beginning, IVR prompts are usually played at the beginning of the call. They could be a message, they could be your call directory, a call tree, or however you want to use them. In DYM, you will either call this 888 number, or you will dial this extension 520 if you're using our phone system, and then you will put in your own unique 7-digit code. Once you've input the code, you'll access the main menu. If you want to add a message, you'll press star. If you have messages that are already in your account and you want to edit those messages, you'll select the number of the message and then press pound to edit that message. The edit message menu is as follows. If you will press 1, you'll listen to the current message if there is one. If you press 2, you will record a message. And if you press 3, it will take you back to the main menu. Once you have your message recorded, you'll come back into this page right here. You'll see a download button where you can listen to anything that's not the default message. You click on download to listen to this message. You'll see when it was last updated, and then you'll have your options. You can change the name by editing the name, and then you can edit your prompt options here. All right. So when you edit your prompt options, you'll add your prompt options towards the bottom. So you'll assign a digit and then tell it to route to somewhere when you press that digit. So you'll go add prompt option. Let's say I want to use 6. 6, I'm going to route 6 into a direct extension. So I'm going to route that into my extension right here. So when I add that option, now if they press 6, it's going to go and ring my direct extension. Okay. You see this play message right here, and it says none. You can have a message play before it rolls over into whatever you have it routed into. So for instance, if I wanted to do this, I will go to edit message, and then I'd be able to choose an IVR to play before the call rolls over to my extension. Edit routing, that's if you want to change the routing around. So if I don't want this going to my extension, I could just choose another option from the list. And then once you've got your prompt options down, you want to edit your information. So you'll click here on edit information. You can change the name right here. You'll see that this is the default message, so there's nothing to listen to. And then you have the option of having the message only. If you choose no, these prompt options will remain here, and the message is going to play at least 3 times before it rolls over to what happens, before it rolls over to whatever you have selected for if nothing's pressed. If you select message only yes and you hit update, your prompt options will be gone. This message is only going to play 1 time, and then it will roll over into what you have set up in this space right here if nothing is pressed. If you want to allow direct extensions, you can turn this on or off. They can either be allowed or not allowed. Direct extensions are, like I said earlier, if you know your party's extension, please dial it now. So when you have direct extensions allowed, your callers will be able to dial your extension directly while this IVR message is playing. And then if nothing is pressed, you need to route it somewhere. So you can route it again pretty much into your ring groups, your IVR, another IVR, direct extension, company voicemail box, a forwarding number, conference room, fax receiver. Or you can simply just have it hang up as well, but you don't necessarily just want your calls to hang up on your customers. So it'll be best to route it into something. Again, it could be another IVR menu or ring group, voicemail box. Just route it into something. Finally, you can set up internal extensions for internal transfers and everything like that. So you could do like 445, 485, whatever you want to set that up as. You'll select update to save your changes. The next settings we're going to go over are going to be our ring group settings. This is where you create your ring groups. Some customers call them hunt groups. But basically, they're going to be a group of extensions that are going to ring when you set them up in the phone number setting right here. So ring groups. We have quite a few ring groups listed here. To add a ring group, you'll go to add a ring group. You'll give it a name, and then you'll select add ring group once again. Once you have the ring group added, we're going to go into this test group. You're going to go to edit ring group. And down here at the bottom, you're going to add group members. You'll select add group member, and you'll choose which extensions to add from this list. So you'll choose an extension, add group member, and now you see that that extension is now part of this ring group. We do it again, add another one, add group member. So now we have 2 people in this ring group. Keep going, adding as many people as we need. So now we have the 3 of them. So we're going to stop there. We just need these 3 people in this ring group. Then you can edit the information here. You'll go to edit information. You'll give it a name. You'll choose the ring time. We can't dictate how many times it rings. We could just choose how long it rings for. You'll choose where it goes if nobody answers, and then you can also set up your internal extension right here as well. And then you can also adjust the ring mode. DYL does have 3 ring modes. Ring all means that whoever's in this group, their phones are all going to ring at the same time. Round robin is going to ring 1 at a time until somebody answers. So start 102. If he doesn't answer, it'll go to Bruce Wayne, and then if Bruce Wayne doesn't answer, it'll go to Test Friday. Test Friday doesn't answer, then it will go to if nobody answers, and then whatever you're routing that into. And finally, you have call queue mode. So if you choose call queue mode, you'll select update, and now you have some additional options to play around with under call queue mode. You can still adjust the ring time. You can adjust the hold music that they'll be hearing while they're waiting in the queue. And then you'll choose your queue strategy. So while this call is in the queue, it's either going to ring all of your phones, it's going to ring your phones round robin, it's going to ring your phones randomly, or it's going to ring whoever is the longest idle first. If you want the queue exit key, you can choose that between pound and 9. If you want the introduction message to play while you're in the call queue, you can choose that as well. Your introduction message is going to be an IVR menu. So let's say that you want to utilize an IVR message, but you also want to utilize the call queue. This is how you will set that up. You'll have the message play here, and then you'll route your calls into the call queue in the phone number settings. Okay. If you want your direct extensions to be able to be dialed while the introduction message is playing, you will choose that. If you want there to be like a caller position announced, you can choose to do that, and then you can choose the frequency at which this message is announced. Of course, if nobody answers, you'll route it into where you need to route it into. You'll save your changes, and then you'll select update. Okay. And then, of course, you'll go into the phone number settings, and you'll route your calls into that ring group, whatever the name of the ring group is. And then I didn't go back here with the IVRs, but it's the same thing with the IVRs. You'll route your calls into the IVRs also. Okay. Going back into the ring groups, I do want to go over lead distribution groups. Lead distribution groups are different from ring groups in that a lead distribution group can be set up for your internet leads. This process is pretty similar. You'll go here to add lead distribution group, give the group a name, and then you'll add the lead distribution group. To add extensions to the group, you'll go to Edit Ring Group, and then you'll add your group members here. Okay, and then also you can edit the information and change the name of it. All right, so now that you have your ring group set up, you got to make sure that everybody's active. So you'll need to change their status or have them unpause themselves so that they can work these internet leads. Okay. What you can do with the lead distribution group, we'll go into the settings. You can set up your lead routing, your call order as the lead distribution group. So basically when a lead comes in, if your call order is set to the lead distribution group, whoever's a part of that lead distribution group will be working the leads as they come in. You can do it that way. Or you can also go over here to manage lead sources and set up that lead distribution group as a direct user for that particular lead source. So for instance, vendor 1 has its own lead email. It's instant call, so that when they send a lead over, you'll do the instant call. If I were to set this up as a direct user, a lead distribution group, they'll be working the leads that come in from this particular vendor. They'll be getting those calls. So that's what you could do with lead distribution groups. Finally, music on hold. You can upload your own custom hold music in DYL, and then you can choose your audio selections for your callers to hear when they call in, or when they're on hold, or when they're on transfer, or when they're being transferred. To upload an audio file, you'll go to Upload File, you'll give it a name. If you want to reduce the volume, you'll leave this checked. If not, you'll uncheck it, and then you'll choose your MP3 or WAV format file. Once you've done that, you'll select Upload Audio File, and the file will be uploaded. You'll see it listed here. If you need to rename it or delete it, you have those options. And then you'll come up here and you'll change your audio selections. Ringing, you can choose your hold music. Hold music, you can choose the hold music or the default music. And your transfer music, you can choose one of the listed. Okay. All right, everybody, so that does it for the VoIP phone settings webinar today. I do thank you all very much for joining us. Again, if you have questions, feel free to ask those questions. If you don't have any questions to ask right now, you can always call us at our service desk. The number is 888-310-4474. We are available Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific time. You can also email us. Our service email is service@dyl.com. You can send your questions there, okay? So again, I thank you all for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.